Tonight I figured I'd talk about Petrolia and about a little bit of the history of the overarching the 30,000 foot overview of the history of the area. And I don't really want to get into too many details about the history. I don't know them all off the top of my head right now, but I know some of the key factors. And these pictures here show a lot of that, the different things that went on in Petrolia over the years. And we're going to look at these photos. I'm going to point out things on them, and I'm also going to put up a snapshot of them so you can see them a little bit closer in your camera, because there's a lot of details you can't see when I'm up here waving them around on the camera. So we're going to do a little bit of a little tour here, and at the end of the video here, I'm going to have a little slideshow. I have a lot of little trinkets and other little photos. I'm just going to label what the subject matter is instead of talking about them. A lot of it's pretty self-explanatory, and I don't want to bore you with endless details. So what I'm going to start here with, what I have here, I have a series of two bird's eye views of Petrolia. Well, not really bird's eye, but like the whole town-wide view. And it shows, this one here is showing Petrolia looking to the northwest. So in this picture here, Main Street goes down through the middle of town here, and up this way is Bruin, and down this way is Carson City. And the other picture, I'll come back to this one. This picture is the same from the same photographer. It's looking southwest. So this is the road up to Fairview. You can even, if you get a magnifying glass, you can see the Presbyterian Church in Fairview here. And the main part of the town is down here in this picture. So this one here shows most of the town, and there is still a lot of the buildings standing there. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a handful of buildings still standing from the time era of this photo. This photo is probably taken around 1910, 1915, somewhere in there. And you can see a lot of the original buildings downtown here, the different businesses. You can see the Hawk store, Hawk Furniture. It was a family that had different stores in town. The Central House, which is the equivalent of Allen's Roadhouse today. And over here, this church here is where the current Presbyterian Church in Petrolia stands. In this photo too, you can, if you have a magnifying glass, which I'm not sure if I can even show it on camera, you can see Bear Creek Cemetery way up there in the valley. You can see tombstones up there standing. So you can tell back then, this was all deforested, made into farmland at one time, and today it's all grown over forest, most of it. There's a lot of other small details in here, different businesses. There's a building here, this building, that was the Methodist Church in Petrolia. And it was torn down about 10 years ago. It was left abandoned for a long time, and then I think Inspect Chemical bought it and tore it down. And I'm not sure if there's anything else I can point out here at this range, but I think that's good for that photo. A lot of it's obscured, but this picture here, looking more towards the southwest, southwest, I guess, yeah. You can see the road going to Fairview, the Presbyterian Church, and then this house here, no, that's not is that the right house? No, it's not. This big building here in the front here, that was a Catholic church that Petrolia had at St. Joseph's Catholic Church. And that there sat currently where there's an upper parking lot for Inspect Chemical. And it sat there at one time. And this big old house across the road here from the church, it's still standing. It's one of the last remaining buildings. The road going to Fairview, the church, and the next three buildings are all gone now. There is a building up here where this one house is, but it's a different structure than the one in this photo. So they must have added on to it or tore it down and built something different at one point. You can see here too, there's oil well derricks. There's one there. There's one there. There's one downtown here. And if you look up here, this is a current day Whitco. There's a big water reservoir there for the plant, and there's company houses on the back road behind the reservoir. And you can see here it was all farmland back in the time of this picture. Also up on the top of the hill here, there's a picture of, you can see a barn in the distance. That was the original Roach farm. The Roach family, owned the original refinery that was where present-day Whitco is located now. He also had a house up towards Fairview. I think it was all the same family. I'm not really sure. But you can still find remnants of that up there. It's on private property. You can't really get to it anymore. But so that's those two photos. This was a wide overview of Petrolia. And I'm sure if you got a magnifying glass, you can probably pick out things that you can see in there and find more stuff in there. But we're not getting into that detail tonight. This photo here, this is a pretty widely known picture of Petrolia. This is the original copy of it, of the flood of 1906. I was going to say 7, but I thought it was 6. And it happened on June 7th. And this is a close-up. You can see the Central House Hotel. And that was in the location of Allen's Roadhouse, the current bar in town today. And then over here was Hawks. I'm not sure. I think it might have been the grocery store. Or it's one of the, Hawks had a couple of stores downtown. But that'd be at Main Gate Inspect today. And then over here on the left-hand side of the picture, you can see this livery stable here. There's a horse stable downtown. And another building beside it here. And that's the present location. Well, it was a location of Riverside in Petrolia, but now it's they use it for storage, I think, the borough or the fire department. And up here you can see St. Joseph's Catholic Church up on the hill behind all the buildings. And it's kind of neat to look at the wooden walkways here. The boardwalk, or whatever they called back then, but I'm not sure. There's 2 kids standing in the middle of the photo. I'm thinking that one of them might be one of my relatives. These all came from my grandfathers on my mom's side of the families. And they lived in that area. They worked on the railroad at Whitco, and I'm thinking that they were in these photos, and that's why we have them. And they're all conveniently labeled in the back with the dates and where they're taken at. This picture here, I'll definitely have to provide a blow-up of it. This here's a picture of Whitco, probably around 1880, 1890. Back then it was known as the Roach Refinery. It was the first refinery in the area, probably 1870, 1880, right on the day, I think. But you can see how small the operation was back then. It only included probably a dozen buildings. And very faintly in the background, you can tell they're looking up towards Petrolia. And there's a valley up in the back of the picture that looks towards Fairview. So I'm guessing this is probably right where the big smokestacks are at the current Whitco plant. This picture. I have a second picture that goes with this, and I might put it at the end when I have all the other extra miscellaneous stuff, but it looks from the other angle at the plant. You can see back here, here's a railroad. So, pretty neat. These next 2 photos are pretty neat here. One of Petrolia's main staples is Unimart, or Boltz's, I'm not sure what's the full name of it now, Boltz's gas station. And this building here sat right where the gas pumps are at Unimart or Boltz's. And this is one of my family members here, the Berry family. And you can see in the front of the picture here, this is a machine shop. The Berry family actually, I believe, I'm not right about this, someone can correct me in the comments, but I think that they at one time built engines for oil wells in the area. So there was a Berry machine company, and back in the day when they ran the oil wells to pump the oil out, they had this big engine that would help power that whole process. But I think they either worked on them or they made them. I'm not sure about that. But in front of here, there's a horse and buggy. And the buggy has a whole bunch of like 55-gallon drums of, the back of the photo says gasoline. But the guy sitting on top there is Barney Wiles. That's my great uncle. And I was always told that he hauled nitroglycerin to the oil wells to blow them up or unplug them to make them flow again. I'm not sure if that's nitroglycerin or if it's gasoline. Either one's dangerous to haul, especially in a wooden carriage like this, but that's what he did back. This is a second photo in that series. It's still the same shop that was located where Unimart or Boltz's store is now in Petrolia. And this one here I have a pointer because there's a bunch of people in here, and if you can zoom in here, I can point out who's in this photo. I need to look at the back of the photo though. One thing, people that want, you shouldn't write on like antiques or historical things, but this is one case where it's probably not a bad idea when you have old photos. My great grandmother or someone wrote the names of everyone that was in the photo in the back of the photos, and it makes things a lot easier. But so in this picture here, they have two automobiles, and they have a wagon full of gasoline or nitroglycerin, and then they have 6 people here. There's a gas light in the middle of town, and you can see a sign here that says "Run slow, danger, blow your horn." So they were getting used to all the automobile dangers back then. But in this photo, from this side back, this first person here is Lou Berry, then it's John Berry, Cliff Shakeley, and Barney Wiles. Barney was the one that was on the wagon in the first photo. And then over here, these 2 people are Ted Ostringer and Arthur Starr. And both these pictures are from 1914, which I was surprised. I thought they might be a little bit older than that, but that's what someone wrote in the back. So, judging by the car, probably not. I'm not really sure what type of car they are, but I can see license plates there. They'd probably have a date if I got a magnifying glass and looked at it. And if you look up that way, that's going up Main Hill, Petrolia, and that is going towards Carson City that way. So now I got a few postcards here. I'm going to put bigger pictures of these, but this is right at the main, the railroad track in Petrolia. You can see the wooden boardwalk still, and there's a whole group of people here. And here, this is when Petrolia burnt down. And I'm not sure what year it was. I think it was probably sometime around 1910, 1920, between that decade. But what burnt down was the Central House, Hawk Store. Pretty much the whole downtown burnt down. And that was a pretty neat find on eBay. And you can see up here, that's St. Joseph's Catholic Church. It's still standing. And what you're looking at directly is Inspect Chemical there today. This is another generic photo of Petrolia, just like an overview of the whole town. It says Petrolia, PA number 2, and it's probably from like 1910. This view here, that one picture I showed of the Roach Refinery. So the Roach family owned it first, and then the Doherty family bought it after the Roach family. And the Doherty refining company, they were the precursors to the modern day Whitco or Sunnybourne that we know now. And if you look closely in this photo compared to the old photo, you can see some of the same structures from the two. This is probably from 1910, but you can tell it's a lot more built up now. And this is right in the location of the big smokestacks, or I'm not sure if they're smokestacks. It might just be like condensation or whatever goes on there, but it's right where those 2 big chimneys are in Whitco today. This is a common view here too. I've seen this postcard quite a bit online. This is downtown Main Street. You can tell they rebuilt it. This is in the 1920s and 30s, and you can see after the fire they rebuilt a lot of the different things that burnt down in the other postcard I showed. I dropped a couple here. Here's another view of downtown Petrolia, and we've seen probably like 4 or 5 of these already now. This one here's from 1910, and it shows different Hawks family stores. There's the Hawk furniture store and the grocery store and the Central House Hotel. And this is before the other postcard that all burnt down pretty much in that last postcard. So maybe I can hold them up together so you can see them. So that is before, and that is after. Pretty dramatic change. So this next postcard here was after it burnt down and they rebuilt everything. So it went from that to this in about 10 years. So it still looks like it's an old town. I mean, there's some buildings that survived the fire, but it's pretty neat looking at how things changed within 10 years. And my one of my prized postcards I have for the Petrolia area. This is the Petrolia Depot. It was located at Whitco Main Gate, and it was torn down in the 1970s or 1980s. And I think there was some talk about preserving it, but for some reason it was taken down, and I didn't know the whole story. But it was located directly behind where the current ambulance department is today. If you see right behind this eave here, there's a house with 5 windows, 5 bays on the second floor. That was a house beside the Presbyterian church that they just tore down here last year. So you can see right downtown a little bit there, but I know. It's a neat postcard my neighbor gave to me a long time ago. So thank you for looking through this stuff with me, and if you have any comments, please comment and share your thoughts and memories about Petrolia. I'm planning on doing more in the future so I can incorporate any new information or any help possible into those other videos. I do have a lot of advertisement stuff from the town, different stores, and I'm going to try to do something on that in the future. And I don't know what else I have. I have a few things from the plants and the different oil wells and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Please like and subscribe, and thank you very much.